Okay, we're going to go ahead and talk about more irregulars. When you conjugate verbs, when it's a regular verb, all you're supposed to do is, well, there's two parts to your verb. We've talked about this before. There is a stem and there is an ending. So if I have the verb comer, the verb comer, com is its stem, and er is its ending. Okay, so what you're supposed to do with regular verbs, all you have to do is take off the ending, and then you go through and you add a new set of endings, and that lets the speaker know who's doing the eating, but you don't do anything to its stem. Okay, if it's an irregular verb, what that means is you're going to probably end up doing something to its stem. Okay, so for example, these three guys are irregular just in their yo forms. So we've got poner, to put or place, salir, to leave or to go out, and traer, to bring. And all of them, if you'll notice, you would have pon, you have pon throughout here, you have sal throughout here, you have trae throughout here. They're completely regular. They're doing what you did with comer and vivir, except in the yo form, they've all got a G. So you're going to have to memorize how they change in the yo form. So it goes pongo, pones, pone, pone, ponemos, pones, ponen, ponen. Salgo, sale, 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 salimos, salís, salen, salen. Traigo, traes, trae, trae, traemos, traes, traen, traen. So let's do a little bit of practice. Okay, so in this activity it says complete the following paragraph about a business trip Clara is taking with her husband using the correct forms of logical verbs from the list below. Ojo, watch out. You'll have to use the infinitive form for one of them. And the infinitive just means that you don't conjugate the verb once, okay? So all of these guys are irregular in the yo. You saw poner, traer, and salir just a minute ago. Ver is irregular and that it keeps its E in the yo form. Okay, so here are the verbs conjugated out for you, and you can see that bear, bear you had learned in a previous chapter, it falls in with this category because it's irregular just in the yo form as well. So, esta tarde mi esposo Tomás y yo para la capital del Salvador. So, poner, to put or place, salir, to leave, traer, to bring, bear, to see. Well, they probably left for the capital, so we're going to put salir here. All right, so let me actually make that a little smaller. Okay. And who is it that's leaving? Because that's how you decide to conjugate your verb, is by knowing who's the subject of your sentence. The people that are leaving are Tomás y yo. Tomás y yo you can't find in your chart, but you could change Tomás y yo to we or nosotros, because you could say, this afternoon my husband Thomas and I, or we, left for the capital. So if you use nosotros for salir, you would change it to salimos. Okay. Antes de blank, yo la guía turística en mi maleta. So before leaving, when you have a preposition like de or que, usually following that you're going to leave your verb, and it's, if you're going to put a verb after it, you're going to leave it in the infinitive form. So before leaving, antes de salir, yo blank la guía turística en mi maleta. So before leaving, I want the tour guide in my briefcase. I probably put it, right? So I'm going to put poner here. And if it's for yo, it's irregular in the yo, so I would put pongo. Before leaving, I put the tour guide or the tour brochure in my, my suitcase. Después, las noticias en la televisión para escuchar el pronóstico meteorológico para la capital. So afterwards, I want the news on the TV, I watched it. So that's going to be ver, and it's I who's doing the watching, so it's going to be veo. Okay. And remember, I've probably told you guys this before, that when you're trying to find out who's doing the watching, who's doing the leaving, who's doing the putting, when it's a statement in Spanish, you're going to look before your verb or before your blank. And then if it is a question, you'd be looking after your verb or after your blank. Ok, en mi oficina mi secretaria me blank el itinerario con la información del hotel y las fechas. So in my office, my secretary did what with the itinerary? She probably brought me the itinerary. Remember here, these guys are not subjects. You conjugate for these guys. May is not on that list. So that's not who's doing the bringing. That's to whom something is being brought. Okay, those may, te, les, they are usually direct or indirect objects or reflexive objects within your sentence, and you have to conjugate for the subject. You've got to look for who's doing the bringing, who's doing the leaving, not to whom something is being brought or who's being watched. You want who's doing the watching. That's how you conjugate. So if we're doing traer for ella, you find ella over here, traer, trae. Okay. El itinerario con la información del hotel y las fechas. Ella blank todos mis papeles en el maletín. She's going to what all the papers in the briefcase. I'm sorry, the other one was a suitcase. In the briefcase, she's going to put them all there, right? Poner, and if it's she who's putting them all there, then it's going to be pone. Ella pone todos mis papeles en el maletín. Ahora todo está en orden para salir. Mi esposo y yo vamos al aeropuerto 2 horas antes del vuelo. So we're going to go 2 hours before the flight. Desafortunadamente, cuando quiero pagar al taxista, veo que no blank dinero. So I see when I'm ready to pay the taxi driver, I see that I didn't bring any money. Have would have worked there, but have isn't one of your options. So I'm going to put traer, and who didn't bring money? If it's I who wanted to pay the taxi cab driver and I'm the one who's seeing that I don't have any money, it's probably going to be I, which would make this traigo. Afortunadamente mi esposo tiene dinero y yo después blank a buscar un cajero automático. So afterwards I went to go look for an ATM. So I left to go look, which would be salir, who's going, it's yo. So then salir for yo would be salgo.